There's a guy in your city right now who used to make $240,000 a year, corner office, company car. His name on a door, and last Tuesday, he was barefoot in a garden, pulling weeds, smiling like someone who just got away with something. No dramatic announcement, no Instagram post about choosing myself. He just stopped. And the strangest part? His brain scans look completely different from yours. Neuroscientists call it the Great Recalibration, and it's happening to millions of people in silence. People who were once obsessed with climbing, suddenly quietly, stepping off the ladder entirely. Not down, not sideways, off. This video is about what they found when they got there, and why the research suggests they might not be crazy. They might actually be winning a game the rest of us don't even know exists. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will completely change how you think about ambition, success, and time. Section 1. The biology of the race. Let's start with something nobody ever explains about why you work so hard. It's not discipline. It's not passion. It's not even necessity, not really. It's dopamine, and a 300,000-year-old survival mechanism that is still running side your side also right now. Here's how it works. Deep in your brain is something called the mesolimbic pathway. It's your reward circuit, and it was built by evolution to get very excited when you gain status. A 2019 Cornell University study found that career promotions activate the same neural pathways as food, sex, and cocaine. Ride that again. Your brain treats a job title upgrade like a drug hit, and it makes perfect sense, because for most of human history, high status meant more food, better protection, superior mates. The people whose brains craved status survived longer and had more children. So here you are, modern human, wearing a blazer, fighting for a parking spot closer to the entrance. You're not shallow, you're ancient. But here's where it gets dark. Researchers at Princeton call it the hedonic treadmill. Every time you achieve something, promotion, pay raise, new house, your brain resets its baseline within weeks. What felt extraordinary becomes ordinary. And the only way to get that feeling back is to achieve more money. Bigger title, better neighborhood. The treadmill never stops. It only speeds up. Most people will run on it their entire lives, never questioning whether they can step off, never asking whether off is even an option. But some people, a growing number of people, they figured out the exit door. Section 2. What these people actually are. I want to destroy a stereotype right now. The people who quietly exit the rat race are not burned out failures. They're not trust fund kids. They're not people who couldn't hack it. Many of them were the most successful people in the room. The VP who walked away from a $400K package at 44. The attorney who closed her practice to teach yoga. The software engineer who deleted his LinkedIn and started growing vegetables. These are not people who lost. These are people who changed what winning means. And according to a 2021 study from the London School of Economics, their brains actually process reward information differently. When researchers showed both groups the same financial scenarios, more money but less time versus less money but more freedom, something fascinating happened in the average high achiever's brain. The reward centers lit up at the sight of more money, predictable, powerful, immediate activation. But in the quiet exiter's brains, the activation was muted, not absent, muted, like someone had turned the volume dial down on status and turned up a different frequency entirely. The question the researchers couldn't answer was, were they born different? Or did something change them? Because the answer to that question determines whether any of us can do what they did, and that answer is coming. But first you need to understand the exact moment when the exit door appears. Section 3. The moment of recalibration. It's rarely what you'd expect. Sometimes it's burnout. Dr. Christina Maslach's decades of research at UC Berkeley shows that chronic high-pressure work physically reshapes your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center. After enough years of grinding, your brain stops registering your inbox as a task list. It registers it as a predator. Every Slack notification reads like a lion in the grass. The race stops feeling like progress. It starts feeling like survival. Sometimes it's a health scare. You're 42. Your doctor says the words, stress-induced hypertension. And suddenly the corner office doesn't look like an achievement anymore. It looks like a slow-motion obituary. Sometimes it's watching someone die. You're sitting in a hospital room. Your father is whispering, actually whispering, that he wishes he'd worked less, traveled more, known his grandkids better. And something in your brain doesn't just hear those words. It files them under urgent. But here's what's remarkable. According to the Journal of Positive Psychology, the people who successfully exit the race share one specific cognitive trait before they ever leave. Researchers call it temporal discounting flexibility. Basically, their brains can feel the future as vividly as the present. Most human brains heavily discount what hasn't happened yet. A reward today is psychologically worth far more than the same reward 5 years from now. It's why you eat the dessert, skip the gym, and take the promotion that will slowly wreck your health over the next decade. But some brains, either through genetics, or lived experience, or deliberate rewiring, can make future you feel real as right now, when they imagine themselves at 67, exhausted and wealthy and alone at a restaurant, ordering from the left side of the menu out of habit rather than hunger. That image competes with today's dopamine hit, and sometimes it wins. That's not pessimism. That's a completely different kind of intelligence. Section 4, the 4 psychological walls. Here's what nobody tells you about the exit. It's not a decision, it's a battle. And there are 4 psychological walls standing between you and the door. Wall 1, identity dissolution. What do you do for work? Simple question. But for most high achievers, the honest answer is, that question is actually, who are you? A 2018 University of Michigan study found that career identity is so deeply embedded in the self-concept that losing it triggers the same neural patterns as grief, actual grief. The same brain regions activated by the death of a loved one fire up when you step off the career ladder. You're not just leaving a job. You're leaving the version of yourself you've been performing for years. And the terrifying question waiting on the other side is, who am I if I'm not climbing? Wall 2, social immune response. Your tribe notices when one member breaks rank, and they react, not maliciously, reflexively. Yale research on social comparison anxiety shows that people who make unconventional choices trigger discomfort in the people around them, not because those people are threatened, but because your choice silently implies that their choice was optional. You're at a dinner party. Someone asks what you're up to. You say you left your job to spend more time with your kids and do some freelance work. The table goes quiet in a very specific way, not hostile, uncomfortable, because you just reminded 6 high achievers that they also had a choice, and they made a different one. Wall 3, financial fear. This one is real and should be respected. You're earning less, saving less. Your retirement projections have changed. Research from the Financial Psychology Center found that downshifters report higher financial anxiety even when their actual financial situation is objectively stable, because they've lost the upward trajectory that used to feel like safety. When you were climbing, the plan was earn more, save more, worry later. When you stop climbing, you have to actually confront the numbers, and confronting the numbers is terrifying even when they're fine. Wall 4, withdrawal from the game itself. This is the one that surprises people most. Some people miss the race. They genuinely, unexpectedly miss it. Not the stress, not the deadlines, but the clarity, the clear metrics, the measurable progress. The simple, brutal answer to am I winning? Research on achievement motivation shows that high performers often become addicted, not just to the rewards of competition, but to the structure it provides. When that structure disappears, something profound is lost. The quiet exit isn't an escape into paradise. It's a trade, one set of problems for a completely different set. Section 5. What they actually find. A 2022 Stanford study followed career downshifters for 5 full years. What it found split cleanly into 2 groups. Group 1. Lower stress, better sleep, stronger relationships, higher reported life satisfaction. Exactly what you'd expect. Group 2. Something nobody predicted, existential panic. Not because their lives were bad, but because for the first time in decades, the external structure that told them who they were was gone, and they had to answer a question they'd been successfully avoiding for 20 years. What do I actually want? Not what do I want to achieve, not what do I want to earn, what do I want as a human being who's going to die? Some people discover they'd been using career achievement as a very sophisticated distraction. The race was loud enough to drown out the quiet, uncomfortable voice, asking whether any of it meant anything. When the race stops, the voice gets loud. But here's what the people who pushed through that panic discovered. Dr. Laurie Santos at Yale calls it hedonic adaptation in reverse. When you remove the constant dopamine spikes of achievement, the promotions, the bonuses, the metrics, the applause, your nervous system gradually recalibrates. Things that never registered before start to matter. A slow morning coffee, A conversation that goes nowhere useful and takes 90 minutes. A book you read purely because it interested you. The specific way October light falls through a window at 4 p.m. Your brain, starved of its usual fireworks, starts to notice smaller fires. And according to research on self-determination theory from the University of Rochester, this shift from external to internal motivation is one of the most powerful predictors of sustained psychological well-being ever measured. When you stop performing for the crowd, you have to figure out what you actually enjoy. That process is uncomfortable, and then it's extraordinary. Section 6. The neuroscience of wiring. Here's the part that changes everything. People who exit the race aren't born different. A 2023 University of Pennsylvania study on neuroplasticity in adults who made major lifestyle shifts found something remarkable. With sustained effort, deliberate, consistent, sometimes painful sustained effort, adults can actually reshape their reward pathways. The things that used to ignite their brains, a salary notification, a LinkedIn endorsement, a competitor's failure, started producing less and less neural activation, and the things that barely registered before, time in nature, creative work without deadlines, unhurried meals with people they loved, started producing more. You can rewire what feels rewarding, but, and this is crucial, it doesn't happen because you decide it once. It happens because you decide it every single day, every time you choose an afternoon with your kid over a networking event, every time you resist the urge to check your competitor's metrics, every time you let someone else's approval or disapproval wash over you without grabbing onto it. You are doing a neural workout. You are training new pathways. It's not easy. It takes longer than you think. There will be days when you feel like you're losing, when the scoreboard you abandoned starts to look appealing again, when the race feels like safety, and your new life feels like free fall. Those days are not signs you made the wrong choice. They're evidence that you're doing real work. Section 7. The harder game. The rat race is hard. Nobody's disputing that. But the rat race has something deeply comforting that nobody talks about. Clear rules. There is a scoreboard. You can look at it at any moment and know exactly where you stand. Salary bands, job titles, LinkedIn followers, square footage, salary figures. The game after the race has no scoreboard. You have to build one from scratch. You have to decide, in a culture that will constantly tell you that you've given up, what winning looks like for a life. That requires tolerating the discomfort of other people's pity and their judgment, and their genuine confusion about why you would ever do this. It requires sitting with financial anxiety without letting it make every decision for you. It requires rebuilding an identity from scratch, not around what you do, but around who you actually are. It requires asking questions about meaning and purpose without running back to the warm, numbing safety of achievement metrics. That is not a smaller game. That is a harder game. The people who play it well aren't people who couldn't handle the pressure of the rat race. They're people who decided they wanted to apply that same pressure, that same tenacity, that same capacity for discomfort, to a question that actually matters to them. They're not giving up the fight. They're fighting for something different. So if you're someone who's quietly exiting the race, or who's been thinking about it, circling the idea at 2 a.m. when everything is quiet, here's what I want you to hear. You are not broken. You are not lazy or soft or failing to meet your potential. Your brain has just recalibrated, and that recalibration, the product of everything you've experienced, everything you've survived, everything that slowly made the old equation feel dishonest, that might be the most intelligent thing your brain has ever done. The people still in the race are not wrong. They're following real, valid evolutionary drives towards security and status, drives that kept humans alive for 300,000 years. But you're following something else, a drive toward a life that actually feels like yours. And if that comes with anxiety and judgment and the occasional night where you wonder if you've made a terrible mistake, that's not a sign you got it wrong. That's the price of playing a game worth playing. The rat race will always be there. The ladder will always exist. But you can't unknow what you know now. You can't unfeel what it's like to have your time back. And that, it turns out, is its own kind of freedom.